Story 1. I feel like during COVID-19, massive companies wiped out their competition and now control everything. I hate feeling like they have us under their control. Story 2. People seem to be nicer prior to coronavirus disease. It is almost as if people forgot to be patient and not to lose their temper. Story 3. When vaccinations were not mostly politicized, there were anti-vaccination advocates, but not in the same way as there is now. Story 4. 24-hour stores, good buffets, a lot of people who came out as crazy and have been doubling down on it since. Story 5. The restaurant industry has changed a lot. Restaurants close earlier, and many have gone out of business, including long-standing ones. Buffets have disappeared here. Prices have increased, including in grocery stores. Automatic tips and administrative fees have been added. Story 6. People seemed less stressed. I do not know if it is also because I am growing up, but since 2020 there has been a significant rise in depression and anxiety. Nobody expected things to go that way. I think it affected us all more than we know. Story 7. Going out for a post-work dinner or drinks with friends. Most of my friends and I work from home 2 to 3 days a week. If I am working from home, I am cozy in comfortable clothes and will do my best to avoid any plans in the evening, so I do not have to leave the house. This is different from before the COVID-19 pandemic, when we would often arrange a last-minute dinner because we both had to go home from work through the city, so we might as well see each other and grab some food. Story 8. My school used to have a day called Fun Day. It was amazing, but after COVID-19, they shut down the event permanently. Story 9. I miss not having the fear of contracting coronavirus disease 2019 as an immune-compromised person. I had it once, and it severely affected me. Story 10. McDonald's all-day breakfast. I have no idea if it was just a limited-time offer or if COVID-19 caused its end, but having a sausage McMuffin at 10 p.m. was amazing. Story 11. Thank you all for answering and helping with my school project. This helps a lot. I have other questions posted as well. Story 12. I know it is the opposite of what you asked, but if I could bring back anything about coronavirus disease 2019, it would be people having to stay 2 meters away from me at all times. Story 13. Calmer drivers. Lower prices. Anti-science people are rarer in elective offices. To be honest, I do not care if the stores are open late. I know a lot of people do, but I would rather there were fewer night shift workers. Story 14. I miss feeling like things were normal. Every time I have had coronavirus disease 2019, once in 2021 and once in 2023, I lost a few $1,000s of income, and it took me months to recover. I still wear a mask in public, and now many people act like I am a huge weirdo for doing so, even though I think it is just practical. It is really sad to me that simple mitigation strategies like masks and vaccinations became so politicized when, before, masks would have been seen as common sense with any airborne disease. Story 15. I miss the restaurants gone. Diners gone. Food stalls in the train station gone. Downtown eateries gone. Story 16. My government printed over £1 trillion to pay wages for people not in work. All of this money went to the rich again, as always. Also, the government bailed out failing companies that are worth a lot. Story 17. Anything related to retro collecting, such as trading cards, VHS tapes, video games, and old action figures. After COVID-19, the prices of these items increased dramatically, making them unaffordable for many hobbyists. I rarely buy games anymore because what was once a bargain bin item that no one wanted is now worth $200 or more. Story 18. Not seeing the world as a hellish place, having a normal life, being truly happy. I was 16 and a half and a junior in high school when the lockdown happened in March 2020. I tried to end my own life in July 2020, the week after I turned 17. The stress of it all was too much for me to handle. Missing out on a normal teenage life was overwhelming. I got help, and by the spring of 2021, I started coming out of my depression. Things were also starting to return to a more normal state where I live, which helped a lot. I was almost completely out of my depression by the time I turned 18. Though I am not suicidal anymore, I still have my moments. I sometimes look at pictures of myself from 2019 and before, and I see a light in my eyes, From 2020 onward, that light has disappeared. I believe I will never feel true happiness again. Story 19. I sometimes think I am the only person whose life has not substantially changed before the coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic to after the coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic. Life is pretty much the same for me. Story 20. Dating was different before COVID-19. Places were open until late at night. People were nicer. America was not as politically divided as it is now. Things were cheaper. Story 21. I could actually sit, focus, and study for hours together. Now, I can barely stay focused for half an hour. Story 22. The price of groceries. I got my first middle-class job in 2019, and despite making more than double my previous salary, I am somehow stuck eating cheaper food than when I worked in fast food. Story 23. My life is back to normal. I don't bother with all the debates and discussions and do what I want to. At my age, no government will tell me what to do. At 67, I have few good years left and I will enjoy them. God bless. Story 24. I sell Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and got back into the game in 2019. I was able to buy sealed products from various years at affordable prices and built up a solid collection just by opening sealed products. Then the pandemic happened, which was a double-edged sword. Renewed interest in the hobby meant that many cards in my collection skyrocketed in price. I was making a lot of money simply because I was in the right place at the right time and started collecting before prices exploded. I even paid for a month-long trip to Europe when things started opening up again by selling part of my collection. With prices skyrocketing, sealed products also became expensive and were no longer affordable. Prices have calmed down a bit since the pandemic, but now everyone knows that trading card games are worth money, and anything old is now automatically expensive because old equals gold. Gone are the days when I could find and open old products at affordable prices. Story 25. Basic logic. It seems everyone is quick to make decisions and comments based on emotion, mostly fear. Being in public spaces feels tense nowadays. Story 26. Socialization will be studied for decades. When work from home ended, many people experienced social anxiety being reintroduced to the world. For those already dealing with anxiety, it was likely very difficult. This has led to increased introversion in my opinion, and it seems like people keep to themselves more often. Social events are not what they used to be. Story 27. Not much, really. Gas and groceries are more expensive, and stores close sooner, but nothing else has changed. Many of the problems we face today were just as bad or even worse in the 2010s. Story 28. Shopping at Walmart at 2 a.m. I work nights, so having to stay up just to go to the store in the morning is difficult. Story 29. I knew 20 people quite well at work. I could go in and sit next to someone and chat. We would go for lunch together, or a group of 6 of us would go to the pub on a Friday. I got invited to people's weddings and we went on weekends away together. I had friends. After COVID-19, the office contracts are remote, but you can come in once or twice a week if you want. Now, all of the new starters I have never met in person. I don't know anything about them. I have never been to lunch with a colleague since COVID-19, and we have never been to the pub after work. It has been 5 years now. Story 30. Losing my job a few days after meeting my girlfriend, then her losing hers, and the 2 years of lockdown together. Being broke and finding small things to have fun. Rewatching Lord of the Rings, drinking $4 wine, and playing chess. Then I married her. COVID-19 was the best thing that ever happened to me. Story 31. Honestly, I do not think there are any differences for me. Everything seems exactly the same now as it was before COVID-19. Story 32. 24-hour Walmarts are now full of people at all hours. Even if I go in at 10 p.m. and they close at 11, there are still people all over doing the same thing. Story 33. I love my hybrid working now, but I do miss the impromptu Friday drinks after work with colleagues. Nowadays, work drinks have to be booked weeks in advance so everyone can arrange their schedules. Story 34. Potlucks during Christmas. We have not gotten together with our friends since then. It is bizarre, but we have gotten used to spending holidays just with our own families. Story 35. Housing was more affordable. Restaurants used to serve more food, but now portions are smaller and it is more expensive. With jobs not being remote before, they were less competitive compared to now, where you are against an entire army of remote applicants. Story 36. Everything is cheaper. Everybody said things are more expensive because of inflation and scarcity. It is actually just price gouging. Story 37. Looking forward to affordable live music and casual trips to the pub. I hope the people around me will behave with common sense. Story 38. My social skills or social energy. I swear I lost a significant portion of my ability to interact with others during the coronavirus pandemic and have not been able to regain it. I was a very social person before the coronavirus pandemic, and I still am, but not nearly to the same level as before. Story 39. The normalcy of working in an office was seen as the only option. Returning to office and the penalty for wanting a personal life that comes with working from home is frustrating. Story 40. I felt like I was finally making progress in life. The price increases meant that my quality of life reverted to how I felt at the beginning of my career, losing 10 years of personal development. I am still very thankful that it is not more severe for me. I know others are in dire straits. Story 41. Being able to avoid association with politics. After the vaccine and mask mandates, everyone started associating how you look, act, dress, talk, where you work, and what you do for work with politics if it did not conform to narratives. I have COVID-19 vaccines and boosters and vote Democratic, so before people react strongly, please calm down. Story 42. I miss low-priced things. There are so many things now that, while I could afford them, the cost is a barrier I'm just not willing to cross. For instance, a haircut. I get a simple buzz cut that I can do myself. I used to pay a barber because why not? A haircut was $12 to $15 plus tip, less than $20. Now it's over $30 to $35, about $40 with tip. I just can't justify $40 for something I can do myself in 15 minutes. My wife and I used to get coffee daily, but 2 coffees are now $15. I have $15, I could spend it, but it's just not worth that cost. So I make it at home, but I miss just going out for coffee. I refuse to spend $15 on a martini. Putting an olive in 2 ounces of vodka doesn't warrant that cost. All these little things in my day-to-day life have more than doubled in cost, and it just makes none of them worth it. Story 43. Getting a basket at the grocery store. I live alone. I need a few things, but I do not want a cart. Last night, I was balancing potatoes, hummus, and ice cream like a bad juggling clown. Story 44. Normal prices. Everybody used it as an excuse to price gouge, and then they never bothered to lower them again because why would they? Story 45. I am unaware of any parts of life before COVID-19 that are not present in the current time. Everything looks and feels the same for me. Story 46. I miss being in the office. Our company went fully remote during the coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic and has no plans to return. The best part of my job was seeing people I liked. Now it is just the work, and I am not a fan of work. Story 47. Normalization of masks has given anti-Semitic protesters an easier way to hide in public. I gained so much weight during the stress of coronavirus disease and have not managed to lose it. I never really trusted the government, but I am far more skeptical of it now. Story 48. Going to the movies. Streaming has been stripping away the movie theater experience, a trend accelerated by COVID-19. Now theaters are not even half full, and studios do not want to take chances. They continue producing remakes, sequels, and prequels more than ever. Story 49. Being home with no job and no worries. I truly lived my best life. I went to college, finished my degree, worked out every day, learned how to golf, played a lot of video games, and smoked a lot of weed. Life was great. Now I am working 5 to 6 days a week with little time for me to do any of those things. Story 50. Many restaurants went out of business. There are plenty left, but they are owned by big corporations. They are okay but lack the unique flavors and vibes of the mom-and-pop establishments. Story 51. Not having major agoraphobia. It was a problem for me before COVID-19, but it got much worse during and after. The only times I really leave the house now are to go to work and doctor appointments. Sometimes, not very often, I leave the house to go to the store, but that is rare. Story 52. For the most part, you could walk through a neighborhood and not know people's political affiliation. People were just nice, and now most are full of hate. Story 53. I bartend, and it seems like each new group of 21-year-olds lately who would have been in high school during lockdown have worse social skills. However, there is less craziness and shenanigans at my bar. After reading some of these comments, I wonder if it is because they know at any moment they could be recorded and shared on the internet. Maybe they are on better behavior because of that. It is kind of good, but also kind of sad. Story 54. The absence of people wearing masks. I know people who still wear a mask every single day at all times. Relax, people. You are not going to die from breathing. If someone sneezes 10 feet from you, you will not get pneumonia. Story 55. Feeling like time isn't slipping through my fingers faster and faster. I didn't used to feel this way. It feels like the coronavirus pandemic messed up my perception of time because the last 3 years have just slipped away from me. It's incredibly existentially upsetting. Feels like my life is slipping away. I was in college and now everything is just going insane all the time. Story 56. I miss that people did not run red lights like they do now. It used to be rare. Now I make sure to wait at least a second before going through intersections. Story 57. I'm getting over a little respiratory bug, tested negative for influenza and coronavirus, and I'm on the tail end of it where I'm still dealing with phlegm and a cough. It feels like a crime to cough in public places now. I started coughing at the store, and it was so embarrassing for no good reason. I miss when I didn't feel like I had to explain that I would never go somewhere public if I was knowingly contagious. Story 58. Nothing, my life did not change one bit. It is odd to hear people whose lives were so changed. If I were not reminded about the pandemic, it would not cross my mind at all. Story 59. Many of these are just inflation complaints. There is nothing that COVID changed for the worse in my community. In fact, I see a lot more people outdoors now than before. Also, I find more friendly people around. The only thing I would prefer is that I had not gotten together with my ex during this time. She waited a few months and then became very controlling about what I was allowed to do. I ended the relationship before restrictions ended. Story 60. No one ever died young before, not a single person. Now, when someone dies young, it is always because of coronavirus disease. Story 61. Putting on a mask is an Asian tradition. COVID-19 appeared and somehow became a political issue. In Asia, we wear masks if we are sick as a common courtesy. We also wear them if we have allergies or if we are food workers in some cases. How it became political, I have no idea. I do not know whose side was wearing masks and whose was not. The whole situation was just ridiculous. Story 62. People seem to care a bit more. I don't blame anyone now for not caring because, in the wise words of Rich Gervais, I never did. Before COVID, travel, staying at hotels or Airbnbs, and even basic activities like grocery shopping created a greater sense of motivation and urgency for people to care, even a little. Now, no one does anywhere, and I really don't blame them. However, it is nice to be among people who do care, even slightly. Story 63. McDonald's dollar menu. I miss the $1 McChicken and $1 McDouble. You could put them together for one amazing sandwich I like to call the McMac. Story 64. I was not fully aware of how many people were unwilling to accept vaccines and masking. We experienced a complete shutdown related to former President Trump because of them. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.